I had a really busy day, and it's actually pretty late right now. It's like 10:30 p.m., but I wanted to get this done because we're taking no days off, guys. So I had a request for Vi, and I wanted to see how it was as well. The question was, does Vi work in the current meta? The answer is, in some cases, and we're going to play a few matchups here to see how it does against, some of the decks we have right now. If you guys played Gwent 5 or 6 months ago, Vi was the thing. It was a degenerate deck. It had so many points. You would 2-0 your opponents. It would just make the game completely toxic. But playing it now with the price of power expansion out and all these really strong cards that have sort of taken over the game, it actually feels pretty ethical playing something like this. So don't look at it as a degenerate deck anymore. Look at it as something that is just a little bit of a forgotten deck, but it still works against the matchups. So again, we want to start off playing our Thrive engines, getting the Intrigas out there. And I like playing retro stuff, man. I'm having more fun playing Vi right now than I did when it was popular. I felt like I was almost not even wanting to play it when it was popular because everyone was playing it. And, I like to keep things interesting, so...
Grow, my beauties. Reach high into the sky.
I took my mom to go holiday shopping today. So basically picked her up, we spent some time shopping, and then had a buddy come over that I haven't seen in a while, made some dinner, hung out for a bit. So it was one of those things where, Gwent came second, but it was funny because, I'm like, after we ate, I'm like, I got to get these games in. We got to record some games. So I made him sit down and watch, watch the deck construction, watch the games and all that sort of thing. So it was great.
The valley of flowers. There is no place more beautiful.
There was a little bit of discussion today about having, again, more honing in on the discussion of having a Team Legacy coverage for the Masters next weekend. So we're thinking about doing like a big collaboration stream with me, like a Nari, maybe Emil, some of the other people from the content side of Legacy. So I got to go into the Discord, have a look at that, and see what we're doing about that. But the second I know, I'll let you guys know, and I'll post like something in the community tab so we can all be on the right page for that. Because I want to make a big statement. Like, we got our teammates going for the World Championships, so we want to make sure we support them, guys. If you're a big Team Legacy fan, drop a shout out to Legacy in the comments below. Trying to put some smiles on the guys' faces before they go and play the most stressful games of their lives. Now, obviously, it's really hard for us to get the engines that we want to get out here with all these rebukes coming down. We are still getting the Thrive out, which is good. Now, again, I just want to go ahead and do that because if we get a pass, I'm fine taking Haunt with just our deck thin. But if they continue to play in this instance, we're still okay.
I admit I lost my temper. Lost it.
And when I'm playing Vi, it's almost like I value the scenario itself a little bit less than I value the leader charges because we don't want to get stuck with no consumes, and those are just the most accessible ones we have. I'm thinking that they're probably playing Gezras here, so I want to go ahead and jam that back row. So let's just get the Thrive out here with Vi. Big slam here, consume that, proc Thrive a second time, puts us ahead by 1 point, and puts them in a situation where they're losing on even. And now we have a little bit of space if they continue to play some of our engines, like the ones that are going to be boosting every turns. The Hounds there, we got 2 of them, and we can even rattle off another Vi and obviously get our deck thin. So we're in a really good spot. It took some time to get prepared, and normally if this was old Vi, like in the meta where Vi was the big thing, we would just be blowing the opponents away at this point. But now it's tough, especially when most decks you play against have multiple tall punishes, like a heat wave and something else, like a unit that'll destroy a tall unit. Makes it very tricky because realistically we go really tall, and if they have one tall punish dedicated to a round, they're fine. Even some cases, like if we're forced into a very long round 3, we can just get outpointed because of the amount of points that some of these new decks can generate, right? Looking at our hand here, I'm trying to decide if we have a really good pushing hand. Obviously, because we want uneven, we want to bleed them down, and that's really the point of the deck, is you want to go as far as you can for a 2-0 with the Vi, and then in round 3 keep it nice and short and just have big, huge point slams. So let's start to get the engines out there, hounds are down, and this list is a little bit different than the old list, because the old list that you might have seen or played had like Forktails because it was teching for the Arrakis Swarm matchup, and a lot of like the big swarms like the Witcher Swarm and stuff like that. Those have been removed. We've gone with a little bit grittier options, a bit more engines. The Barbagazis didn't fit anymore because of some of the provision changes, so I opted for double Lizard instead. So there's a couple little reworks in the bronze end. Obviously Foglets come out, and we put the Archospores in. It's a weird thing because realistically we don't want to waste consumes on the Archospores unless we have an abundance of consumes. So you'll often see me tucking the Archospores back in the deck, and that's just fine. We have so many cards to pull the cards that we want that usually we don't have any problems. And so now we can just trade pretty big, and I'm thinking we Unicorn in this round here. If we get the Aeroquax out, we're going to be able to get the Gezras out. It's looking like Gezras to me, so that's obviously what we're going to be looking towards. I do want to go and get the second Hound down shortly. Orbs are just tough here, man.
Splendid crops this year, and ever they shall be. Leave it to me.
There we go, let's get that down just so that we get a bit more value out of there. And then we can just work on getting a couple of eyes and take it turn by turn. Realistically, we have pretty good carryover, pretty good value on Vi at this point. So if we take one with Iroquois, we get the Gezras out there. And, you know, obviously I think we're going to pass with 2 in hand at this point. Yeah, especially with that on Adrenaline, it's just going to be a lot of points.
That's right. I like fighting with style.
We're still in a position that if they pass, we can come back and win the game. So, completely fine to play that here. We took out the Sentry, so that tells me that Gezras is in their hand, and if they want to get the max value from it, they're probably going to play it here. That or a Tall Punish, right? There it is. That's awesome. So, huge points. We obviously got out Gezras, we got out hopefully the last of the Sorceresses. Or the Whisperers. We got out lots of good stuff. Simlas is out. We just have to deal with Orbs ×2 in the next round. But again, a lot of the really strong play is out of the way. In between the rounds here, I'm checking to see the status of my Amazon order. I'm so excited, man. Oh, we're back at it. The hand's not like really good, but the commitments that we got from them are fine. We have access to 3 Vi's here, which I think should be more than enough for like a short round.
The blood of Enshay, the blood of elves.
Just says arriving between the 17th of December to the 7th of January. That's wild. Hopefully sooner than later. So last leader charge out of the way. Doesn't really help them there. Maybe next turn they want to remove that or something. We just take the safe route here. We go with one of the ones we know. So yeah, just Oniro it. I mean, either way, Naglfar pulls it, the other one pulls it. It's guaranteed at this point. There we go. So Vi's back in deck. I'm trying to find a time to get out the pig as soon as possible. So we're probably going to have to play down one more card, and then we can put down the pig. So it's a little bit slow, but we'll still get a couple turns of boost off it. It'll go twice. Play for 8 points, right? And obviously, when you're playing against guerrilla tactics, like, you're afraid of like a tall roll punish or something like that. So, you know, Igni, Yurden, whatever the case, to me that's like a lose condition. So, especially when the row is stacked like that, 22 we lose, a hard reset we lose. It's one of those things.
Are you fucking kidding me? Catnip instead of clowns?
It goes down here. That's perfect.
Move those hooves! We'll both be hung!
And the sentry, it's going to be a lot of points. It's not going to be enough points. So they'll get, yeah, 2 off that, and that's whatever. You know, all we have to do is play the card. Me taking leader charge here is just to show you guys how much points we would have had. So 70 to 43. It didn't seem like it was that far away, but it was actually, it wasn't very close. Moving on to game number 2, we got Jackpot, Syndicate. It's going to be really tough with all these bounties, man. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be. Either that or a Syndicate Passiflora Jackpot. Have a look here. Like I said, normally I like to mulligan back the thin, to be fair. Definitely have to greet it. Like I said, it feels a little bit power crept, so don't want to waste our time and our consumes on the thins here, especially against a deck that's going to really try and take away all our consume cards. And something I want to mention. I mentioned it the other day, how it was like only 23 of you guys, percent of you guys were subscribed that watch my videos. That number has went up. We're actually closer to about 26% in the last month. So I appreciate the continued support. You guys are great. And, you know, the more traction it gets, the more I thrive. You know what I mean? No pun intended. It's just, it's really cool to see this whole thing, you know, start to develop and right in front of us all. And you guys are the ones that are responsible for it, so big thanks. And again, I do like doing requests too, especially when, you know, I don't have a lot of time to plan like the next best thing. Like today, for example, I just look in the request bin and, you know, I get that. But other days like yesterday, when I did the tributes, that was just me thinking about something of my own. So, you know, doing a bit of both is always great. Requests that you guys have are important to me because it shows me what you actually want to see, what you actually want to play, and then I can just sort of put my spice on it, you know, and make it the way I like to make it. So we want to get out those engines. We got 4 engines just sitting in hand, and obviously we got to put out that one first because we wouldn't have Sabbath. And that's gonna hurt. Yeah. Try it again. Yep. It's tilting. I love playing control decks, you guys know this. So boost decks sometimes stress me out a little bit. Like, they're fun if you're doing well, but if they're taking care of like what you're trying to set up, it's annoying. So I'm going all in here. Let's take it. Just see a couple people hopped into the Discord server today. Respect. It's not a super active server, like maybe not as active as some of the things that you're used to, but just think of it as a hub that you kind of come onto, and if you ever need to contact me for whatever reason, you have my contacts. So that's kind of one of the things that it is. You know, sometimes on the weekends we'll hop in voice channels and play, whether it's Gwent or something else, and you know, that's the case. But it's certainly not as active as it is when I'm actively streaming. So I'm trying to set the expectations for you guys if you join the server. But some really smart players in there still. So if you have any questions, there's probably someone who's willing to help, you know, if I'm not around. You see how we just milled out the Brute? You gotta love it. So it's one of those cards that usually works pretty well if you use it early on. I don't like to use Yerquax in round 2 or 3. We like to just, you know, get it out. I mean, if we're going to use it round 2, it'll be at the beginning of round 2. But, you know, we want to get it before they actually play some of their more expensive cards so we can get rid of some of the value that they're going to have. In this case, phenomenal play. And we have to sort of defend card a little bit, but we also kind of want to get another Vi or 2 in there. I like to play the Disloyal card in round 2 as well, because I feel like giving them free, you know, points in a short round 3, it's not really ideal. I was thinking about also decorating a little bit some of like my home setup, you know, the room that I make the content in. I find the plain wall and space behind me is a little bit boring. If you guys have any ideas of what sort of stuff I should put up in the room, let me know as well in the comments. Home decor is not my forte. Like, when I moved into this condo, I basically went to IKEA and I bought everything black. Just black desk, black like, not, I didn't buy my couches there, but you know, just everything. Just kept it simple. And then for like cushions and accessories, I got a few things that were like red, and I'm like, ooh, you know, modern. You know, went to another place, got a couple black couches. So I suck at decorating, but we gotta make this place look special. Yeah, Graydon's kind of, that's nice to see, but we can't keep playing into that. We got to defend the card at this point, make it even. They have so many coins, like full bank, full profit. We got out some of the good ooh. Horson on the pass. They must have really good cards in hand. So going into a round 3, I'm thinking that maybe they had like a Siggy in hand or something like that they couldn't spend. You know, it was worth more points. We have time to sort of collect ourselves. Seeing Vi in hand is like a free Vi. It's perfect. Let's tuck away these Archospores. A little bit late for that whole play. Again, you see, they're not the priority for me here. And Haunt would be nice. Haunt would be really nice. There we go. In the past, you used to make, like, you could make greedy Vi decks. Like, people found ways to cram heat waves and stuff in there, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work these days. You know, I even wanted to put, what's that card's name? 7 Provision. She puts a special back in your deck. It's on the tip of my tongue. I was trying to think of a way to cram that in there. Put back in one of our tutors, but it didn't work. Professor out of the way is kind of nice here because they don't get the boost off it, so they just overprofit. Now, I'm thinking 2 Vi's is more, it's probably enough, because most of the coin that they have is probably going to be like damage at this point. So, you know, putting a Vi down, consuming it, putting another Vi down should be enough. Putting down Haunt is actually not a bad idea either. And looking at it at this point, it really depends. Like, if we put down Haunt first, they just go ahead and they remove... I mean, either way, they're going to remove it. So at this point, I'm thinking we take Haunt. Because we need a like, we don't need the consume, but we want the extra unit that we're going to get off it. And it just sucks that they have so many coin. Pretty big deficit here. They spend down to nothing, and we have 14 points to 41 points. Vi's really big. Reaching in the deck here, 22 off that, plus the Barghest. And just so you guys know, I'm fully aware. Had I known what they had left, I would have played the Haunt a little bit earlier, which then would have allowed us to get the second proc, which actually would have put us ahead. So we could have potentially won that game, but it was just really coming down to not really knowing what to expect in that case. And, you know, it didn't cost us the game per se, because we ended up tying the game. But that's something that if I was to redo, I would have done a little bit differently there. Moving on to the third game, we have Congregate by Syndicate. Lots of Syndicate today. And there's been a lot of... When I see Fireswarm right now, I don't think of like a classic Fireswarm. I'm thinking of like the whole yep. And this is not good for us. Actually, this is probably worse than just regular Devotion Fireswarm. You know what I mean? We can probably keep up with that. But this here, getting our consumes to work is going to be very tricky. They're going to have so many of these things. Big consume on the Vi goes back in deck. So that's the whole plan, like the whole point of the deck. If you guys are obviously watching this, maybe you haven't seen it before, you just want to recycle that Vi, consume it, put it back in the deck, and just keep getting that value on it. Just point slam after point slam. It's very easy to play. It's very beginner friendly. We go ahead and mill the Jacques here. So again, 2 games in a row, really good mills. We got the Brute last game, we got the Jacques this game, so you guys see the trend here. Although we're giving them points, we're also denying points. So it's actually a really good card in this deck. And they have so much points. Look at this, drills on the board, 3 lackeys on the board, like, it's pretty wild. We're not in a bad spot though. We can just pull another Vi, we're back in the race. That's the best part about the whole thing. And then it doesn't give us Sabbath for the pigs, but we do have 2 hounds that we can play and then just throw the pigs on after. But that's assuming we even get that far in the round. Like, I don't know if they're going to allow us, because look at this, that's huge, right? 12 to 32. I don't think that we can actually come back from that. So I have to look at this here and say, all right, we got out Mushy Truffle, Drill, Jacques. They're probably not going to want to bleed, so maybe Mushy Truffle doesn't get used next round. Lackeys are out of the way, right? So it's looking pretty good. And the only reason why we have the Noon Wraiths in this deck is to proc scenario if we get desperate. I don't like it necessarily. Compared to like an Elder Bear, I feel like it's a bit safer, but it has less chemistry with what we're going for. So it's the only reason why the Noon Wraiths are there. Realistically, I'd rather play an Arc Spore than a Noon Wraith in this. I'd rather just play the Vi altogether to proc the scenario. So there's a lot of cards that they're there because they need to be there, or I feel they need to be there, but you know, obviously we want to look for better cards. And that's actually annoying as hell. Seeing, yeah, that's really bad. 22 to nothing, like, and they're just going to keep taking care of our units here. And we have a lot of bronzes in hand, too. Terrifying. This looks 2-0, doesn't it? But the show must go on, you know. Vi goes down, we eat the Vi goes back in the deck. Nice and vulnerable 21-point card. At least we have Sabbath after this, you know, we can put down the pig next if we really want to ramp it up. Nope. Nope. Man, these lackeys are just wild, and with Senior having the Intimidate tag on it, then being able to use other coins with the Horse and Freak Show, they must be loving this. We still have dominance here, so we might as well go ahead and take that. I like that play because now we have 3 units that if they hit it, it's not really great for them, like the Rats in the front and the Night Wraith. It's a little bit awkward. If they kill that, it's going to have the Death Wish ability and spawn the Rats back, so we get the points back. You see, we did actually save a point right there, which was really nice. And they're really just trying to take away dominance. I don't think it matters too much, though. Pigs are offline. We can't even use... Actually, it does matter, because we can't even use the Hounds now at this point. There's really not a lot of stuff we could play. We have to consume something and go tall. Yeah. Well, not even. I mean, the other play would have been just to consume the 10 so we have an 18 power, but then again, it leaves us vulnerable. They have a Heat Wave potentially in this deck because it's on Devotion, so I guess that just makes sense. 20. Yeah, we'll go ahead and drop the pig here. And I think we have to throw away a charge, don't we? We gotta get that online and start climbing. That way on a pass we could still get our card. And I guess they realized that it's probably not going to happen in 2, so we actually got pretty lucky here. Let's keep the Barghest and maybe just dump one of the 3s, right? Math is hard after a long day, apparently. Play the card, man. There we go. So that'll just go to 36. Take the round. I was sweating a little bit, man. And if we top deck well, holy crap. They don't want to see us win, man. We don't need a lot of consumes, we need our points. There we go. Yeah, if we can get 2 Vi's, I'm feeling good. Just gotta play it routine, get the Thrive out first. And the whole Adaran, that's nuts. I like this. I respect this sort of play. Gotta respect that Thrive curve. Get the Banshee out there because we want to get that extra boost too. Because every time we play a Death Wish card, that Banshee's gonna boost by 1. Keep that in mind, guys, when you're playing this deck. And holy crap, they're just gonna be... Look at all the coins! Look at that, it's like infinite. And it just got scary. They got a full board. What do we even do? I'm not going to consume anything right here. I mean, actually we could proc Thrive. The only other thing I probably would have done there, and I'm thinking, like, looking back on it now, I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things, but, like, to be correct, I guess you could say, we would have taken our last Vi first, got the extra point on the Banshee, and then played the Bargus to just consume the Vi so that we don't lose. You know, so we split it up a bit farther. But, you know, even a disarray doesn't take it. And I was kind of, you know, looking at that once I saw the board filling up. Okay, it's probably disarray, right? So the 1 point, I mean, it is what it is. Even if they put down a spender, it wasn't enough. They couldn't even put down a spender. There was no space. Moving on to the last game, I've seen Hyperthin, I've seen Colgrim, I've seen Mill. They're all using the leader. You know, they're really tough, annoying decks to play against, and we'll see how Vi does against it. Seeing Vi in hand round 1's awesome. And I'm just thinking, okay, we're on blue. I kind of need to get some points out there. I value the Sabbath Pig more than I value the Hound. So I'm really just trying to cram it to get Sabbath quicker. And, you know, it'll save us a couple turns because Hound first just takes the Joust and it's very slow. And so this way, next turn we have it if they don't remove that 4. Perfect. And get all these engines online. And we can just start climbing here. So I'm starting to see the deck thinning out pretty well. We have the Brigade, we've got Knickers come out, you know, the Adept. It's looking like a Hyperthin or a Colgrim, one of the two. We take the round. I mean, really, before we even got a Vi, which is annoying, but we took the round, so we'll take it, right? But we kind of have to play a little bit. Like, there's no way I'm going to go into a long round 3 with a 10-point Vi. I just kind of want to keep it short, even if it costs us the card. Haunts in deck, lucky for us, but we do have a lot of consumes in our hands, so we can go ahead and try playing one. Slizzard down's fine, and see if we can really get some value on that. And you know, it's gonna take them a couple tall punishes to really take us out of the game. So I figure if we could see one in round 2, it's actually worth going down a card. We'll just try that again. Dominance get second consume here. There it is. And when you're playing this deck, like, there's certainly some uncomfortable moments if you get like a Slizzard up to 50 points or, you know, a Bargus up to 20 plus. Like,
I like you whether you like us or not.
it can be just gambling, but it's one of those decks where, because this, you know, it's in a certain state, it's either going to win a game or it's going to lose a game. And although we try to go wide with the points, we don't always have the option. And so they're just racing ahead here. So I figure, alright, like, we'll give them Iroquois, because if they're already going to be a card up on us, we might as well make it, you know, have a bit more value and just take away something good that they have. Seeing Ivar here, massive. And also, the fact that Hyperthin often thins down to 1 card, the fact that we milled them is actually, it could be beneficial. It could make things a little bit more challenging for them. Keep that in mind. So I'm thinking, okay, they have that. What other sort of tall punish do they have? If it's Hyperthin, they have like a Triss. Sunset comes out, they're down to 4 cards. Just imagine they like ran out of cards. Like this round, for example, they just went down to nothing. Again, we have nothing to lose here. Like, it feels a little stupid, like, to continue just to force it down 2 cards. Well, technically down 1, but there's the Heat Wave. So I see Ivar, and I see Heat Wave, and I also know that we are gonna have a tricky time. I'm doing some math here, because if they pass, Vi will take it. So it just makes sense. Okay, we take that here, they pass, we 2-0 with the Vi, so they have to play. But then we just pass after, because there's no way we're going to get it back. Right? Like, we're getting Vi in that case, guaranteed, with the Naglfar anyways, because if we don't pull the Haunt, like, well, no, there's 3 gold cards on deck. And another one of them gets Vi, so it's fine, either way. 2 Tutors, 1 Consume. Get rid of that, get rid of the Arcuspore again. Ooh. We have more than what we know what to do with it. So, we can even look for Haunt here. That'd be nice. Haunt 2 Vi's. Get the extra points off everything else. Yeah. Vi's 22 points, so it'd be 22 and 25. Put that down first. You know, obviously we want to get some extra value from that if we can. And they thin down to nothing. So, if it's hyper thin, we win. If it's Colgrim, we might lose. And that tells me right there, that's hyper thin. So now what? You know what I mean? They're just going to be playing cards for whatever. And it all started with a Iroquax, really. You gotta love it. Next thing you know, everybody's going to be teching in an Iroquax if Hyperthin becomes more popular. And see, they see the Haunt go down, they just know. There's going to be 2 Vi's coming after that.